I wanted to do a little update for you guys and tell you what's going on, considering it is, peak week, and we are a couple days out of the show being this Saturday, the 13th. I am recording this right now on Thursday, so I'll probably try to have this video up in a few hours. But there is some good news and there is some pretty crappy bad news with regards to my peak week and how's it going. So, let's be on the positive side and let's start with the good news. The good news is that as I'm editing this footage, again, it's funny because I'm kind of like, I'm editing this, but I'm going to put this in the clip so it's all kind of happening at the same time. When I'm kind of cutting these clips together and adjusting the lighting and editing and everything, and I really feel that my physique, in this footage, which was about this is the morning of Tuesday, I believe the 9th, this was by far the best I've ever looked in my entire life, at least in my opinion. And I could say this, from a subjective standpoint in terms of like, wow, I look good, or at least I think I do. And then also mathematically, which is kind of a lot more objective. Because, last year I weighed in about 169 pounds on stage. We're probably at about 8% body fat. I'm guesstimating based on, visual appearances. And this year, in that footage, I was 173 pounds at pretty much the same body fat percentage, if not a little bit lower. So this is how I always advocate that you guys compare yourselves, to different points in your life. Because if you're bigger but you're fatter, then it's apples to oranges. You can't make that comparison. But if you are essentially the same body fat percentage, you can look at lean body mass increases. So same body fat, an additional 4 pounds must mean that you have an additional 3.5 to 4 pounds of lean body mass, and that is very good. If I was able to put on even like 2 to 3 pounds of lean body mass every year, from here on in, that's awesome. I am so happy with that. I know a lot of you guys may be watching and thinking, that's it? 2 to 3 pounds of muscle in a whole year? That's nothing. Well, again, I've talked about this in the past, but the longer you train, in my case, 11 years of training, the closer and closer you get to your genetic potential, which is pretty much the most amount of muscle that your body can carry genetically according to your DNA. That it can't go past this, right? Guys, I've talked about this in the past because, like, in my natural video, the one that just came out, it's doing fairly popular, and one of the things I mentioned is that there are certain processes, such as myostatin, such as, whatever, that simply stop your body from putting on muscle. That's why it slows down over time. And, people who've been training for 20 years, it gets to a point where they can decrease, their body fat percentage, they can improve their conditioning, but in terms of actually putting on lean muscle mass, it's negligible. Like, there's an article by Lyle McDonald where he talks about this, and he actually says, like, I think I'm quoting that, by the end of it, once you've been training for a while, your yearly increase in lean muscle mass is so small, it's like in decimal points, it's pretty much negligible. So if I actually can put on visible or, measurable 2 to 3 pounds of lean body mass in a year, I am so happy with that. And that's why I think that overall, this process of bulking and cutting this year, it hasn't been a crazy success, but it has been a success, and I'm happy with the gains. Now on to the bad news. That was me on Tuesday. Pretty much 2 hours before I started feeling a little bad. Started feeling worse. Then as the night progressed, I started feeling like crap. And I was kind of wondering, okay, is this because of my low carb diet or the fact that I'm kind of sleep deprived? I only slept like 5 hours of sleep that night before this, this day. And I'm thinking, I'll walk it off. I'll sleep it off. The next day I woke up and I feel like crap. My throat felt like I was like, like I ate fire or something, and I had to call in sick to work. I didn't go to the gym, didn't do cardio. I think I got the flu or something, or like a cold, and I'm much better now. I've been kind of getting over it, but I'm still not 100%. Like today, I slept like 10 hours. I'm in bed watching like movies and stuff, and no cardio, lots of fluids, because that's how you heal. You need lots of sleep, bed rest, and fluids, but that's exactly the opposite of what you want to do for my peak week. My peak week involves certain manipulation of water, sodium, doing cardio pretty much up until Thursday, and instead it was me in bed pretty much like a vegetable. So yeah, so guys, that's definitely going to be something that's, being a hindrance to my peak week, being my overall physique that I bring to the stage this year. But you know what? Fuck it, deal with it. I mean, that's why I always like to, advocate with my channel that life doesn't give a shit about your problems. It's not like I can go to the judges, when I'm on stage this Saturday and be like, hey, by the way, guys, I got sick, so, and they're like, oh, we understand completely. Why didn't you say so? All right, we're gonna add a couple points on, so we had you in third, but we're gonna put you up to first. Good job, bro. No, nobody cares, right? And at the end of the day, let's be honest, there are people who may be in way worse situations than you, and they're gonna be competing against you, or in anything in life, whether it be this physique competition, whether it be in school, whether it be in career or whatnot, there are always going to be people who are in potentially significantly worse situations than you, psychologically, physically, socioeconomically, like whatever. Like, everybody is battling something which you may have no idea what's going on. So don't sit there and cry me a river and think that like, oh, this is so bad for me. Does it suck? Yeah. Pick yourself up, get back on the horse, and fucking move on with it. I'm trying to say this to myself, not even to you guys, just to because when it first happened, I kind of felt sorry for myself. Like, oh no, 4 or 5 months of prep all down the drain because now I'm gonna come in, not as good as I could be or as good as I even was like a week ago. But who gives a shit? You can either sit there and complain all day, and at the end of it, it's not gonna do anything positive for you whatsoever, or you could accept it. Get back on the horse, move on, maybe have a strategy that goes around this problem, and immediately you're gonna have to change whatever protocol it is that you were gonna do, and that's how it works. Alright guys, but enough about me. Yeah, my situation kind of sucks, but I'm gonna deal with it. But for you guys, for the regular people out there who are probably, hopefully healthy when it comes to their peak week, what can you do, and what is the point of a peak week? Pretty much, I know a lot of people throw this term around, but what it is essentially you are trying to ensure that you look your absolute best on that one day, or even 1 to 2 hours when you are on stage. Yes, we can look good. We've been dieting for a while. We've been dieting for 16, 20, 24, 25 weeks. But what can we do? All these little micro fluctuations, changes to make sure that we look our absolute best on this one single point. You could use this for a bodybuilding show, men's physique, a photo shoot, whatever you're doing where you have to look absolutely your best. Here are a couple, little steps that you can take to look your absolute best. This is from my experience. This is from my research. I've competed. This is going to be my 4th show, so I don't have it all 100% figured out, but I really think that I do have a good idea of what works for me and what works for my clients. So number 1 is carbing up. So a lot of people talk about this and they say like, I'm carbing up 7 days out, or I'm carbing up 2 days out, or I'm carbing up the day of the show. What do you do and why do you do this? The whole point is that unfortunately, once we've been dieting, and a lot of people diet extra hard their final month, we get shredded, we get lean, we get ripped, we get dry. The problem is we end up looking flat. What that means is that even though your muscles may be defined, you have vascularity, you have striations and everything going on, your muscles just look small. Like physically in volume, they look small. They look like deflated balloons. You look like a very lean but kind of smaller version of your normal self. And that's not our goal. That's 50% of the equation. The other 50%, is size and conditioning. So what people do is they increase carbohydrates. When they do this, this increases glycogen. Glycogen is a long sugar molecule which sits in our liver and in our actual muscles. It's like a backup storage of energy used once standard blood sugar runs out. Very common, and this is very depleted once we've been dieting in low carbohydrate modes for a long time. So what we do is we increase carbs, and this causes us to have more glycogen in our muscles. Glycogen binds to water. That's one of the things that it does. It has a very high affinity for hydrogen dioxide bonding. So what this ends up happening is your muscles kind of fill up, like legit, like water balloons. They kind of inflate just a little bit, but it's too late for you to get fat in most cases. Like people think that, oh, what are you doing? Why are you ruining your diet? You're eating candy the day of your show, or you're eating higher carbs the day before your show. No, it's too late. You're not going to get fat. For all intents and purposes, your body is, you've hit the home stretch. You have to try really hard to screw your physique up drastically at this point. Increase carbs, increase glycogen, increase, muscle size, or at least the appearance of it, and it's all good. Now, how people do this is very different. I've had clients who've had to carb up, like I had one guy who, we had him up to 400 grams of carbohydrates, even though he was dieting on 200 grams of carbohydrates, like 1 to 2 days out, and he was still feeling flat. We had to take it even higher, take it to like 450, 500. Guys like Christian, for example, he had to, I think he was like, carbing up as much as like 5 to 6 days out. He started at like 250, 300, 350. I think like 1 to 2 days out, he was as high as 400 grams of carbohydrates because his metabolism could handle it. That's the whole point, guys. Everyone's different in terms of their metabolism and in terms of how they respond to carbohydrates. On my end, unfortunately, I can't do this. I've done this in the past. I've started carbing up a little bit too early or a little bit too much, and I had the opposite. Instead of looking flat, I looked spilt over. So pretty much, not only did I inflate, but I inflated too much. I started to lose definition. I started to feel a little bit watery. I no longer look like 8% body fat. I kind of started looking more towards 9 to 10% body fat, which is not sufficient for competition level conditioning. So I can't do this, guys, and this is what you guys have to understand. I've got clients who are carbing up a week out. I've got clients who I say, no, you're not touching carbohydrates until the morning of, and I have them wake up at 6 a.m. and start carbing up. Everybody is different in the way that they respond to carbohydrates, so you have to figure that out for yourselves. Maybe for your first show, try carbing up a little bit, maybe, increasing carbohydrates by 20 to 30% 1 to 2 days out, and then judge. Was that too much? Was that too little? Should I do more next time? Do less? Everybody has to figure it out for themselves. And number 2 is fiber. This is also something which, I just want to quickly mention. Your last day or 1 to 2 days, so like 2 days out, 1 day out, and the day of your show, do not focus on getting high fiber. In fact, I would actually avoid getting high fiber. So foods like Quest bars, or if you have a fiber supplement, don't worry about any of that stuff. Fiber, although it's a carbohydrate, and I just said carbing up, it's not the same, because fiber does tend to give you a little bit of a bloated feeling, a bloated look. When your stomach is kind of like protruding, if you have too much and if you don't respond to it very well. So anything like over 30 grams of fiber is not necessary, but for the most of you, it's not going to be a problem, because unless you're actually tracking fiber, it's not that easy to get 30, 35, 40 grams of fiber naturally. So just eat like a regular person. Go eat your, your white bread. Go eat your crappy sources of carbs. No, don't worry about this whole grain crap. I don't think it's as important right now, and I don't want you to get that bloated feeling. So especially Quest bars. I have 2 of those, and I immediately feel like, it's low in calories, so it's good, but I kind of feel like, ugh, and that's not a good thing, especially for your day of or the day before the show. Next up, sodium and carbohydrates on the day of your show. I highly advocate, guys, having a big carb up meal and a big sodium up meal the day of your show, especially in the morning. So for example, in my case, I'll be competing at about 1 o'clock I step on stage. So I'm waking up at about 6 in the morning for my first, my base layer of tan. So what I will actually be doing is I'll go get my tan, and I'll probably be done at like 6:30, and then afterwards we're gonna go to Subway, we're gonna go to Denny's, and I highly advocate getting like a lot of carbohydrates. We're talking 80 to 100 grams of carbohydrates in a single meal, and having like 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of sodium. Again, this kind of pertains to what I talked about earlier. The whole point is you're gonna be consuming water, but you want that water to actually go somewhere, so more carbs means more glycogen, and more sodium. Sodium and water, they kind of follow each other. It's kind of like a tag team. It's kind of like cat and mouse. You can't have one without the other. So if you increase water but your sodium is low, nothing's gonna go into your body. Vice versa, if you increase sodium but your water is low, nothing's gonna go into your body. So you increase sodium, and that's gonna allow your body to pull in more water. That in conjunction with increased carbohydrates, increased glycogen, is going to allow your body to kind of fill up. It's kind of like you just blow up like a balloon. You kind of blow up like a superhero. This is like what, 6-8 hours before you step on stage? It's too late unless you really go crazy and you fuck up like I said 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of sodium, not like 10,000 milligrams of sodium and like 500 grams of carbohydrates in one meal. It's too late. You should be okay, and you're gonna probably retain most of your conditioning, but you're gonna, pop up a little bit. It's gonna help you look a little bit bigger, a little bit more full. Sodium and water, not the day of, but your final week. A lot of people do this, and I actually do this for myself, but for you guys, I'm not gonna tell you a single thing. I'm not gonna advocate this because it's kind of risky. A lot of people think that they do this whole like water loading throughout the week, high water and then low water at the end of the week, and then high sodium and then low sodium at the end of the week, and they do this sodium and water manipulation. This can improve your physique, like literally we're talking 1 to 2%, but if you fuck it up, it can destroy your physique. I've seen guys who they did this improperly and they looked way worse the day of the show than they looked like 1, 2, even 3 weeks out from the show because they kind of messed it up. You don't want to screw with this system. If you know what you're doing, great. I know what I'm doing. I've been doing this for a while, and a few of my clients have asked me for help on this, and I asked them, are you sure you want to do this? Especially for your first show, but if they really want to do this and they follow what I say to a T, and I know their body, I've been working them for a while, then yes, we do it. For 80% of the people watching this video, probably not the best idea. Just keep water and sodium normal. Don't go high water, don't go low water, or high sodium. Just eat like a regular human being. The final, 5, 6, 7 days out from the show. But like I said, the day before, I advocate this for everyone. High sodium, high carb, let yourself blow up a little bit. Next up, food volume. This one isn't as important as it is on the day of the show. What I mean by this is that even though we are carbing up and we are eating a little bit more, I said Subway, I said, Denny's, or I had Thai food once. That's great, but don't have too much food in terms of actual physical mass or physical volume, because I don't want you to, again, feel like you're bloated on stage. The actual, when you go to a buffet and afterwards you're like, you feel like you got that pregnant ab thing going on. That's not a good idea. Although I want you to increase carbohydrates and sodium, ideally I would do this using foods which are a little bit less in volume. If you can handle a sub, go get a sub. Candy is great. I'm gonna be chewing on candy every 1 to 2 hours from like 7 in the morning up until I go on stage. Just like, you know, Henry bars or Fuzzy Peaches, little stuff. Rice cakes are very good. Rice cakes with some peanut butter and some jam. Go have some junk food because it's very calorically dense, unlike, you know, chicken and rice, which is just, you're gonna have to eat so much to sufficiently carb up. And it's just gonna give you that like bloated feeling, and you don't want that. Same thing with water. I say on the day of your show, drink enough water so that you're satiated and that you're not thirsty anymore, but don't like chug 2 liters, because even though you may not actually be getting fatter, you may just be physically like bigger in volume. Your stomach is physically expanding. It's gonna be harder for you to contract, get your abs, or if you're competing in bodybuilding, it's gonna be impossible for you to do the vacuum. So why would you want that? And yeah, my final tip is, all of this is gonna improve your physique that much. No gimmicks, none of this stuff is gonna help you essentially save your physique. If you look bad 7 days out, you're not holding water, you're not, you know, gonna fix it with sodium, you're just fat. I'm sorry, that's the way it goes. Like this, all of this is supposed to help your physique look like 1 to 2% better. Pretty much like maybe if you're competing against 20 guys and you do this properly, maybe it'll take you up from like 7th to 6th place. I'm sorry, you're done. Either way, guys, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm probably going to have at least one more video up before I actually do, you know, the competition. So hopefully I'll have something up, you know, Friday night, kind of showing the last few 48 to 24 hours, you know, the tanning, the training, the preparation for the actual show day, the athletes meeting, all of that good stuff. So yeah, I am feeling better. So, you know, I have just like 20 to 30% more health to recover in these next 48 hours. So I am confident that I can do it. And again, guys, no room for excuses, just bring it. I don't care, you know, nobody cares about anybody's personal situation. Can you bring your best possible physique? If you can't, that's it, end of story. And yeah, I understand that. I just, you know, wanted to explain to you guys what's going on, but absolutely no excuse for looking my absolute best come Saturday, and I'll see you guys then.